Over live to Oslo. This is BBC World News, and they're stepping forward now. We're about to get that announcement. The winner of the Nobel Peace Prize 2009.
God morgen. Good morning. The Nobel Committee
has this year decided to award the Peace Prize for 2009 to President Barack Obama for his extraordinary work to strengthen international diplomatic work and interhuman relations. The committee has in particular put weight on his work without nuclear weapons. As a president, he has created a new climate internationally, with multilateral diplomatic work being central to his government's work. In conjunction with the United Nations and other organizations, dialogue and relations between countries are being used instead of other means to get results in problems internationally. It has revitalized all negotiations with regard to getting weapons off the world stage, and also because he has challenged the climatic problems that the world is now facing. It is rare that a person in his situation has been able to do that work and also to produce hope within the international community. His diplomatic work has been based on the view that those who want to rule the world must base it on values that applies to everyone. Through 108 years, the Nobel Peace Committee has tried to strengthen work of the kind that Obama is now working on, and he is the leading spokesperson for this particular value. He's saying that now is the time for all of us to take responsibility with regard to the global challenges facing us.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided that the Nobel Peace Prize for 2009 is to be awarded to President Barack Obama.
That was a shock to all of us.
The extraordinary announcement there that Barack Obama, the US President, has been awarded this year's Nobel Peace Prize, basically for changing the international interhuman relations, on his work with nuclear weapons and with his work on climate change. Let me just bring in Peter Biles, who's with us, our correspondent. A surprise?
Well, we gasped, didn't we?
Well, once again, the Nobel Committee has delivered a surprise, and I think this must be seen as part of their ongoing efforts to reward somebody for work in progress, because President Obama, of course, has only been in office since the beginning of this year, and it's still very early days for him and for his international diplomacy, and yet the Nobel Committee has chosen at this particular stage, within the first year of his presidency, to reward him for what he's done or what he promises to do.
And it is that issue of nuclear weapons, trying to reduce the number of nuclear warheads that they're particularly focused on. And I suppose, you know, that was a political risk for him. It is a complete change to the policies pursued by his predecessor.
Yeah, and I think there are a number of big international issues that he has clearly indicated that he's concerned about. Engaging Iran, reducing the nuclear threat, the potential nuclear threat in the Middle East, reducing tensions in Eastern Europe, the removal of the missile shield that we heard about not so long ago, tensions, of course, surrounding North Korea, but also his concern about trying to rebuild the Middle East peace process.
And we've seen also, for example, this big shift in his allegiance with Russia, trying to get Russia on side for Iran. We're reporting today changes in Burma, and it is apparent when we're reporting daily news that there is an attempted shift being pushed from the US, isn't there?
Yes, I think there's on the part of the international community and the West, there is very much a twin-track approach to many of these issues now. You can see that particularly with Iran. On the one hand, they're saying, let's engage with Tehran and try to have constructive engagement. On the other hand, the threat of sanctions remains in place. So it's a bit of carrot and stick at all times.
Not the first American president to win the Nobel Peace Prize, of course. Jimmy Carter in 2002. He did a lot of work in the Middle East in the late 70s, of course, pushing Israel and the Egyptians together to make peace. But interestingly enough, Bill Clinton didn't get one, of course, for trying to push the Arabs and Israelis together in the Middle East peace process in the 90s.
And Jimmy Carter's award, of course, came many years after
absolutely.
he'd left the presidency. He didn't have a fantastically wonderful presidency, but he's done a lot of good work since, and that was rewarded in the subsequent years.
All right, Peter, stay with us. Let's go back live to Oslo, where questions are being asked now.
Og hvordan det internasjonale klimaet forandret, mer enn nok til å si at han har oppfylt det som står I Alfred Nobels testamente, nemlig at prisen skal gå til den som det siste året har gjort mest for å skape...
Barack Obama, of course, hailed around the world, and the committee there talking about the fact that he has brought hope back to the whole talks basis of climate change and nuclear weapons. Is there going to be some opposition to this and surprise domestically within America?
Inevitably there's some surprise, but I have to say that President Obama was among those mentioned in the days leading up to the award today. He was a 7-to-1 favourite for some bookmakers, and it's just worth reflecting on a couple of the other names that have been thrown forward. Of those record 205 names and organisations submitted this year, Morgan Tsvangirai, the Zimbabwean Prime Minister, President Sarkozy of France, Ingrid Betancourt, the former Colombian presidential candidate.
Okay, we're just going to stop there and go to a translation now of this statement.
Russia and the People's Republic of China for the work that Obama has done in different directions and at different occasions.
The Chinese government demonstrated the great parade in the Tiananmen Square. So I wonder that this Nobel Prize to President Obama is that challenge him to make peace in the world?
That's why we are awarding President Obama, namely that he has contributed a lot to strengthen international diplomacy, international institutions, and in particular the United Nations. And I think that this will be appreciated by many leaders throughout the world, for instance by the Chinese leaders.
Speak up. President Obama, despite all the good things that he's trying to do, whether it be nuclear disarmament or the Middle East peace process, he has not achieved nothing in concrete as of yet. What is the reason for giving him the prize, and is the Nobel Committee, is your committee not risking the accusation of being a little political by giving this precious award to an incumbent U.S. president?
If you look at the history of the Nobel Peace Prize, we have on many occasions tried to enhance what many personalities is trying to do. For instance, when Willy Brandt got the prize back in the 1970s, who launched the Ostpolitik in Europe, which was so important for what happened many years later. For instance, giving the prize to Mikhail Gorbachev, who changed the world completely, and now to President Obama, who is contributing to improve the international climate, to strengthen the international bodies, such as the UN, for instance. And that is very, very much needed. And the committee wants to not only endorse, but contribute to enhancing that kind of international policy and attitudes which he stands for.
Well, Peter Barnes is with us. Just to repeat the news coming into us from Oslo, that President Barack Obama has won the Nobel Peace Prize. And they are talking, obviously, about encouraging people so that the values that they want to uphold are continued with this prize, that isn't just rewarded for past efforts which are finished. Is that part of the decision in this?
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, trying to reward work in progress, trying to enhance what someone has been trying to do. So, although President Obama has only been in office for a little less than a year, they are keen to enhance and endorse much of his international policy.
And there is a financial reward, I'm just reading as well.
Well, the small matter of 10 million Swedish krona, which equates to about 1.4 million US dollars.
Yes. That should help with the American budget deficit. All right, they're talking about how this will galvanise international relations, Peter, but I don't think we should overlook the impact this might have on American domestic politics. This is a man who's currently involved in a massive fight with Congress over health care reform, who's bogged down in difficulties over deciding what to do about Afghanistan, and all of a sudden he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Yeah, Afghanistan, of course, the big issue for President Obama at the moment, and on the domestic front, yes, healthcare. So I think this will come as a huge fillip to him at this particular time.
And his opponents, the Republicans in particular, are going to dislike this immensely. Here's a man they're not very keen on anyway, and 8 months on, he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
It's going to
Yes,
be
he
very
failed
interesting.
to get the Olympics to Chicago, didn't it? Everyone said he can't deliver, and now he's coming with this.
It'll be very interesting to see how this goes down domestically, I think.
All right, Peter Burrows,
Peter,
thank you.
thanks very much indeed. There's pictures live from Oslo with that news just breaking.
BBC.com/news, of course. You get more on the website about the Nobel Peace Prize.
Let's bring you more on the rest of today's news.